Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tour Pro Talks. I'm Genevieve White, travel and tourism copywriter and coach, and I am so happy to be joined today by Harry. Welcome, Harry Wales.
Thank you.
So lovely to have you with us, Harry. Thank you for coming. So, just a few words to introduce Harry to you all. Harry Wales is an advocate for accessibility and inclusive travel. He's committed to making the world a better and more equitable place for disabled people. He's got hands on experience and a deep understanding of the barriers faced by the disabled community. He believes accessibility isn't just a privilege, but a right, and he uses every opportunity he gets to educate and to lead change. Harry is the founder of Travelosophers, an award winning travel agency built on the belief that everyone deserves the chance to explore the world without barriers. So, welcome to Harry and welcome to our lovely audience as well. Hope you've been able to come. We are here slightly earlier than our usual time, but I actually quite like it. I feel quite awake, more awake than usual, actually. So, audience, please do say hello, say who you are, where you're watching from. And Harry has also thought of a question for you to get the ball rolling. If you could just type your answer into the comments, what do you think of when you think of accessible travel? So I'll ask that one more time. What do you think of when you think of accessible travel? And do pop your answers in the comments, please. Now, we've just got half an hour as usual. We don't have much time. I've got lots of questions to ask Harry. I'm sure you will have questions for Harry too. As usual, do feel free to put them in the chat. But Harry, let's get started. There's so much to talk about. First of all, could you maybe just tell us about your own personal journey? How have your experiences inspired you to focus on accessible travel?
Of course, and thank you so much for having me on today. It's a real privilege. I think
Oh,
my work in travel started long before I started my own company. It was a passion of mine. I am a disabled person. I have muscular dystrophy, so I always had that little bit of extra challenge when
mm,
I was going anywhere. So it was in the back of my mind way before I'd even gone into the travel industry that every holiday that I went on with family or friends, there seemed to be that little bit of extra need that I needed a little bit more assistance than anyone else. So I once I'd then gone into the travel industry, I wanted to really focus on removing the barriers that people had when they needed a little bit more access needs. So if that was accessible transfers, the hotels, and obviously the mobility requirements. I always use my mobility scooter. So it's knowing that I had to have that little bit of personalized itinerary and the ongoing support that I would need just to further myself, really. And for the disabled community, making sure that I was a voice that would challenge them. So
mm.
making the industry better, looking at the global travel market, seeing what empowers travelers to really experience the world. And I know you mentioned it in the bio, but people need to travel with confidence, dignity, and joy. Because at the end of the day, travel is such an amazing experience that not everyone gets to do. But when you do it, you've got to do it well.
Absolutely. And it is about that joy, isn't it? As you say, and taking away the layers of stress and challenge that disabled people might face. Um, was there a light bulb moment that you remember when you realized that there was a need for travelers like you to have better informed and maybe more empathetic planning?
Yeah, I remember a time when I looked into a hotel, went into a lot of detail with this hotel, and they swore to me, "Oh, we are fully accessible. You're going to love it. It's a great accessible room." And I was like, this sounds absolutely amazing. I got to the hotel, and the accessible room that they had described in perfect detail was up a flight of 4 stairs. There was no lift. There was no access to this room.
Oh no.
I am lucky in a sense that I can walk slightly. So I did make it up to this room and have a look, and it was perfect. Everything that they described was there. The grab rails, the alarms, the wide doors, everything that I could want was there, but up 4 stairs, so I couldn't actually take the scooter up there. And I think people don't look at the bigger picture. They
Mm,
created this small masterpiece that the hotel had described, and they went, "Look at it, it's fantastic." And I went, "But it's a tick box. It's a
mm,
checklist that you've actually done. Yeah, fantastic, you've got it. How do we get there?" And they went, "Oh, well, we didn't think about that, but
mm,
we've got it." And I was like, that was the moment where I thought, okay, great that you've done that, but look at the outside, look at the bigger picture of it. How are we going to make what you've got accessible? And it would only take a few other little alterations that what they'd done, they could have put that either on the ground floor if there's space allowing, or if there is a lift there. I think it is just taking the bigger picture of things and narrowing it down slightly to say, this is what we need.
Yeah, it is just that bigger picture thinking, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, what a shame in a way that they put all that
Oh, it was
effort
it
into
would have
creating this lovely room, and it just was wrong because it was not
and it was
accessible.
a lovely room. It was
Mhm,
fantastic, brand new, still the smell of paint, and it would have been fantastic if
mm,
I could have got there. And I think it's not too difficult for hotels to look into this, and we say, like, hotels, it's the planning of the whole itinerary, the transport providers, the taxis, the hotels. Once you're there as well, everyone wants to be able to go out and about. I've been to many hotels where I've not been able to go anywhere because the outside environment isn't accessible. So there's so many things to the right planning for my independence brings joy to everybody, not just me, but the people that I'm actually traveling with as well.
And it really is thinking holistically about every different part of the
Yeah.
experience. Now we've got lots of comments. I shouldn't let them all pile up because sometimes I do that and get really overwhelmed. So we've got hello from Darren. Okay, and there's answering the question from Hang. Barrier-free logistics for everybody is what comes to her mind when she thinks of accessible travel. Hello, Hang, and hello, Pulley from South Africa. And here's Julie's answer. She thinks about physical accessibility and sensory management. Okay, great. And hello, Martin. Oh, lunchtime here in Turkey. Perfect. As now her company while I eat. Oh, well, you couldn't ask for better company than Harry, Martin. So
Thank
enjoy your lunch. I hope you're having something nice there. Okay, thank you for your comments so far, everybody. Do feel free, keep them coming and keep some questions coming in as well. But in the meantime, I've got another question for Harry. Now, we began by asking that question, Harry, what do people think of when they think of accessible travel? And we've already got some interesting answers.
you.
Let's just talk a little bit about misconceptions now. What are the most common misconceptions that people have about accessible
Yeah, I
travel?
think that really flows into it, doesn't it? When people
Yes.
first think of accessible travel, disabled travel, you first think of lifts and ramps, but it's such that wider market. Accessible travel is such a niche market. And I loved your introduction with the 1 billion people. Those people. Now, I always say this to people: when you think of an accessible booking, if we're talking about travel agents, that booking could then become more than one room. Sometimes there might be a carer going. Sometimes it might be a wider family. That niche market that you've got from just having one accessible room could then turn into 4 or 5 rooms, a family. Once you've got an accessible traveler and you've done it well, I guarantee you they will come back to you time and time again. We've said before it's one of the world's largest minority groups, but it's often designed as an afterthought. We've said about this checklist thing. The misconception is, oh, we've got it, we can do it. But you really do need to sort of drill down into it to make sure it's there. But I've always said disabled travelers should enjoy that same sense of freedom and independence that anybody can have.
Mm,
It's the challenge is not the disabled traveller themselves, it's the lack of education and awareness that the whole industry has. how many times have we known that hotels, airlines, destinations, again, say that they're accessible without truly understanding what accessibility actually means? And I think we've had a couple of comments already. It's not just about lifts and ramps. It's about that independence, that dignity. And you know what? The number one, it's about choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Which is something that we all have the right to. We all have the right to choose and not be pigeonholed and kind of railroaded into certain experiences. And I think that's a really good point as well, Harry. What you've just said about the fact that it's not just a niche, and disabled people don't travel on their own. I mean, it could potentially be like, a whole school reunion party with an accessible room. So, apart from the whole point of the fact that it's just the right thing to do to be accessible, you're also missing out on a huge opportunity if you are not designing accessible experiences as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, something I want to talk about with you a little bit as well, and this ties in with what you've just said about choice. Um, what about balancing inclusivity with making travel feel luxurious, comfortable?
Right.
All of these things,
Yeah.
and that goes back to the whole choice thing, because disabled people have the right to the luxurious experiences as well, don't they? Of course they do.
Absolutely. Why should inclusivity come at the cost of luxury? As a way, disabled people deserve to experience a 5-star spa, a rooftop dinner, a private guided tour, just as much as anyone else. The key there, and I think we've sort of touched on it, is the journey is accessible. So it should be woven into it, right from the start. It shouldn't just be highlighted. For me personally, luxury experience, as it would be, should be about removing the stress. For me personally, I will speak personally here, knowing that the bathroom is going to be accessible. Is the transport going to be adapted? I need that assistance without it constantly on my mind. Is it going to work? When the groundwork is in place, then me as the traveler can feel truly relaxed, and I can then enjoy the culture, the destination. And you know what? More than anything, it's for me, it's enjoying that sense of freedom. But that shouldn't come at a price of my accessibility needs.
Mm. And I know you've recently been in Monaco, which is, well, it's kind of
Oh,
synonymous with luxury, isn't it, Monaco? But maybe not the first place
no,
we think of when thinking about accessible travel. So can you just tell me a wee bit more about what you were doing there,
I
how your
I was
experience was?
very, very lucky, very, very lucky to go. And when I first thought about it, the first thing come to mind is the Formula One, and I am a very big Formula One fan. And when I first thought of let's go to Monaco, and people said to me, "Are you crazy? It's built on a hill. How on earth are you going to get around?" There were 78 different public elevators that I could use. So I was lucky enough. I was right down in the casino square, and then I come out of my hotel, and I was like, "How am I going to get around?" And they said to me, "Well, hang on a minute. Did you know that if you go in this elevator, you go down to this part? Do you then know you can go down to here?" The city opened its arms, it opened its eyes. Everything to me was one of the most accessible cities, short haul, that I've actually ever been to.
Mm.
I said to people, don't take it for what you first see. Go off and explore. Now, I'm one of these ones that I'll look at a map and I'll go, I'm going to go there today. I don't know how I'm going to get there yet. I'm going to look at it and I might know, okay, how are we going to get there? And that way I was like, my number one thing when I get to somewhere new is find a supermarket, go and buy a bottle of water. Sounds silly. Most people think that is easy to do. But can I get there on my own without the need of, further assistance? It was one of the places that luxury, it comes into it, but the people were so friendly and kind. Now I know obviously some certain times public elevators don't always work, but Monaco had an app that you could log into that would then tell you which elevator was working. Now
Mm.
that here in our own country, in England, would be absolutely perfect. It was a standout place for me. I must admit, it was one of those places that I would love to return to very soon. But the casino took all my money, so can't go soon.
It does sound like you had a good time.
Oh,
Um, what really is coming across to me when you're talking about this is the fact that it's almost like a virtuous cycle, a virtuous circle with people maybe joining together in a destination to prioritize the same things, and it works so well because it is joined up. If it's just like a couple of people, lone people, lone businesses doing it on their own, that's good. But it's if it's almost like built into the infrastructure, the tourism infrastructure, that's amazing. So
well, do you know, I'll tell you a personal story of fear. I never travelled on my own independently until 2 years ago. I'm
really,
too scared to do it on my own, and I don't know why. I do it day in, day out for people. I tell them, "Oh, don't be scared. Come on, do this, do that." And I put myself in that position, and I said to myself, "Well, what would you do? What would you tell other people to do?" And I went, "Well, ask. Go
yeah,
out the front door of the hotel and just explore." And the time I did it, I actually thought to myself, I have missed out on so many places that I would have gone to that, like we just said, I didn't think it would be accessible. Long haul destination, very big advocate of Qatar. I
mm,
went the first time in May this year, went to see a friend, and I thought to myself, the only way I'm going to explore this city is if I go out. So she went to work and I went out on my own. I had my Metro card with me. Now, I must admit, that Metro system there is one of the most accessible places I have ever been to. I was
mm,
able to tap in and tap out all these different stations. Everything worked, but it felt like everything around me felt safe and secure. And I was able to then sort of go out of my comfort zone, and I had that determination. And they call people out there with a disability people of determination, and I really am a strong believer of that. I was determined to pinpoint a place on a map. I had to get two different metros and a little walk, and I said to myself, "Let's do it. Let's not be scared." And I'm actually going back again in a week's time, to then go and see the Formula One out there.
brilliant, brilliant. So I mean, yeah, it's just yeah, there's so much to unpick from what you've just said from those stories, but they are really inspiring stories to just show, the difference that it can make. And it all comes down to what you said earlier as well about key to both of these stories. It's removing as far as you can that element of stress, isn't it? And bringing the joy to travel and that sense of connection and freedom as well. Okay, let's talk. How are we doing for time? Okay, we're not too bad. I want to talk a little bit about designing inclusive travel. So, how do you brief suppliers and hotels and transport providers on accessibility without making clients feel like a burden?
Again, using my own experience with it, I tend to always focus on the empowerment, preparation rather than the limitations. It's about ensuring that the experience runs smoothly. No one should ever feel like a burden.
Mm,
I think in my back of my mind, that's what made me. I felt like I was a bit of a burden if I travel on my own. What would I do if something had gone wrong? But if you start very clear at the beginning that accessibility is part of good service, it's not an add-on, and we need to get that out of our minds. Accessibility should never be just an add-on, or we said like a tick box. It needs to be a seamless experience that everyone should enjoy. I definitely would highlight the specific needs of the person, be very factual, but do it in a professional way. No two disabled people are ever going to be the same. So always start focusing on the solution rather than the problem. I know that sounds strange, but always look at every problem that there could be. There'll always be a solution to it, and speak to the person, because they will have all of the answers to your questions. You just need to come up with the right question.
mm. Absolutely. That sounds like really good. Yeah, that's very insightful. Thank you. Everyone, I'm just completely hanging on every word here. This is so interesting, and your mix of personal stories and insights. It's fantastic.
I,
I
I've
love
always been,
it.
I'll always be honest with people with a personal story, because I think people sell people, don't they? You know, I could sit here and read from a brochure and, oh, it's got this, this, and this, and I'll go, well, actually, when you get there, if you go right around the corner and just down that's the personal side that I can bring to my travel business and to my journey, because every day I'm still learning about my own disability and my own limitations. And it's the way that I can then share, obviously through my own YouTube channel and through things, that I can share that journey. Because if at one moment in time, one person looks at one of my videos and says, well, if he's done it, why can't I do it? And they can put away with that fear. And if just me doing that one thing has made that person get out there and lose that bit of fear and gain that sense of freedom, then I've done something right.
I'll put the YouTube and the link to your YouTube channel as well on the comments afterwards, because that sounds like a wonderful resource for people to explore.
I'm getting
Pooling,
just used to the video editing. It's
oof, don't talk to me about video
no.
editing. Not my favourite thing. Pulley
No.
says, this is fascinating, listening attentively. Thank you for that lovely feedback, Pulley. Now we've got a question from Hang. Okay.
Hello.
Hang, I actually mentioned you just before we went live, and I said we'll probably get a brilliant question from Hang, so you've not disappointed us. A lot of accessibility conversations focus on the big obvious barriers. I'm curious about the invisible ones. What behind the scenes friction do you think puts disabled travellers off before they even reach the booking stage? And how can travel brands spot these blind spots earlier? That's really interesting. So this, I guess, maybe comes back to what you were speaking about with the fear, doesn't it,
Yeah,
Harry?
yeah. I do you know what I know what I've come across, and thank you for that question, Hang. That's really, really interesting. A lot of this information is already out there. A lot of it is there. Hotels have this information. They just don't share it. They
Mm,
don't feel the need to put that. Oh, no one's going to want to know that. Who's going to want to know that? Our reception desks have lower level counters. Who's
mm,
going to know that we do have two rooms that are adaptable? They think that it's just there. No one's going to want that side of things. So I would say the number one thing is share that information. If you've got it, put it on your websites. Make an accessibility document that you could put out. And now again, it's not just about those ramps and the lifts. Look at the width of doors. It's all well and good. We've got an elevator, great, but can it take a mobility scooter? Is there a weight limit? All these little things that could put off a disabled traveller, you need to share that information, make it easily accessible to people.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and making them feel seen in the first place, just by the fact that you've included that
That's
information,
the one thing.
shows
Yeah.
them, that reassures them as well that they are going to be welcomed.
Yeah. We've
Just
touched on it already, haven't we? Where we've said that disabled traveller deserves the right, the dignity to that travel. If you've got it, tell people about it. Shout it from the rooftops, because I guarantee you, people could have looked at a website and not seen the word accessible, or looked at, oh, we don't have a lift. Okay, you don't have a lift, but you could quite easily say to people, but if you was to come out of this floor and go round, we've got a ramp. Don't put a barrier in place before you've even created the barrier. Remove those barriers. That then opens up to so many other people. And we've already said, haven't we, it's not just about that one person. Many, many more people could then become a booking. They'll become regular clients. And it really does remove that blind spot before it's even started.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad you asked that question, Hang, because actually, as a copywriter, that's something that I should really be thinking about as well. And I put my hands up. I've not really thought about this until I've spoken to Harry. this really was not top of my mind. So I'm so glad you've asked this question. I'm so glad to be having this conversation with Harry as well. So thanks again, Harry, for coming along.
There's a lot behind the scenes of that question as well. That if we had 2-3 hours, we could really unpick it. There's a lot to unpick there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, a conversation to be continued there, maybe, I think. Okay, we're getting into our last 5 minutes of the session today. So let's look forward a little bit now. Harry, I know that you are always promoting accessibility as being rightfully a core conversation in tourism. I think I just want to talk a little bit now about what changes are you seeing with accessibility in tourism? What are you excited about? Are you excited about the future? Probably I should ask first. And if so, why?
Very much excited. Again, we spoke about it. It's a very niche market. It's a very lucrative market that you can tap into. But, and I think we touched on it earlier, don't forget about it. Don't just have it as a tick box and we've done it. It's been done. I notice, sometimes you post about accessibility and you get a good reaction, and then the week after there's nothing there. We need to keep it in your mindset. Don't just have it as we've done it. We spoke about accessibility this week. Great. Keep talking about it. The only way we're going to improve the industry and make things better for everybody is if we keep it at the forefront of our minds. There's a lot coming up, a lot of destinations. I do a lot of work with the Spanish Tourist Board, and they are very much forefront of we're going to keep improving things. Shout about the good points that we have got. Yes, things are always going to need to be improved and keep on improving, but it's a long way to go. It's a long uphill ramp, as we could call it. There's a lot of things that still need to be improved in the industry, and it's finding that trust and finding people like yourself for giving me the opportunity to speak about it today. It keeps it in people's minds. I'm really thankful for you for giving me this chance today. It's people like yourself that are going to help us get our word out there.
Well, I'm very thankful to you for coming along, and just to emphasize what you've just said there. There's so many trends and buzzwords in tourism, and I think after speaking to you today, Harry, it's just really about understanding that this isn't just like a trend, or it's on Tour Pro Talks this week, but this is something that we all need to, I think, just really start to think about. I know it's changed my way of thinking, and I hope it has for some of you listening today as well. I'm going to be super cheeky, and I'm just going to put in one tiny little more question, because I think this is quite a nice practical question. It might be a useful takeaway for the audience, and that's talking about your go-to tool for designing accessible trips, because this might be quite helpful for people watching.
Okay, I'm going to be out the box here. I use Google Street View. The way that I look into a hotel before I've even looked at their credentials, I will do a walkthrough of where that hotel is. That gives me an idea of, is there a drop-down curb? Why is the door width? Is it going to be a roller door? Google Street View to me gives me an immersive experience of being in the destination before I've even got there. It opens a completely whole new world, opportunities right in front of me. If I look at it and there's stairs out the front, I mean, okay, hang on a minute, we need to think about this. Then I'll then go further down into the actual hotel itself, and that gives me like a step-free access look at it straight away. I tend to read the reviews that people have posted, not just the hotel's main information, go deeper into the actual side of the review system. If people have posted about, I felt really accessible here, then fantastic. And another one that I know you've had other guests on that have been fantastic about it, but it's AI. Don't be frightened of it. Yes, you do need to double check bits and pieces with the answers it does provide. But it opens up a whole new world of bits and pieces that gives you that step-free access information before you've even arrived.
I think that's a fascinating takeaway. I think we'll all be playing around on Google
Yeah.
Street from now
Yeah.
on. Brilliant. Well, just wrapping up now, I will first of all just to say I will be sharing Harry's website and YouTube channel on the comments, so you can check that out. Do connect with Harry as well. That would just be a great first step, I think, as well, into continuing to develop our awareness of accessible travel and all the great work that Harry is doing. There'll also be a full report on today's chat in the Tour Pro, which is out next Tuesday. My next Tour Pro Talks guest, I've just had a bit of a brain freeze, so I can't quite remember the date, but I'll be speaking with Jed Brown all about low season travel, approximately 2 weeks from now. But for now, all there is left to say is thank you to our lovely audience for your comments, for your questions. Lovely of you to join us. And finally, heartfelt thank you to you, Harry. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you to you as well. Thank you.
See you all soon. Goodbye.